will it be you? Will your family be the first to witness the birth of the incredible Nintendo Entertainment System? Will you be the first to see, to touch, to play with Rob, the extraordinary video robot? He follows the commands you put on screen to help you tackle even the toughest challenge. Will you be the first to raise the incredibly accurate Zapper and play games like Duck Hunt and Hogan's Alley? The first to build a library of game packs like Kung Fu and Golf? Even games like Excitebike that you program yourself. Will you be the first to get all this in one package? The Nintendo Entertainment System, where video technology is more than a game.
Hello and welcome to Season 12, Episode 7 of the Cartridge Club's Game of the Month podcast, where we bring together members of the esteemed Cartridge Club community to discuss our community playthrough. If you're new to the club or are interested in participating in future months, please join our community Discord or the forums at cartridgeclub.org, or follow us on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Cartridge Club NA, or on Bluesky at cartridgeclub.bsky.social. Very easy to find us there. We love to see the hashtag Cartridge Club used whenever you talk about one of the games that we've selected or are playing. And additionally, on behalf of the entire Cartridge Club community, all of us, I'd like to give special thanks to our Patreon. Can't believe I said that. Patreon Club backers. And that is Joel Boyce, Kevin from Canadian Grooves, Dean from the Video Game Library, Ross Rango, Christopher Rohr, I think I said that right, and Caleb J. Ross. To our backers and Patreon supporters, thank you. If you are interested in becoming a Patreon supporter for the Cartridge Club, please look into how to do so at patreon.com/Cartridge Club. Housekeeping over, on with the show. I would like to introduce my guests with me. I have Trav from Polykill. Welcome.
Hello.
Trav.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Also, Nest Friend. Is probably more important for this show.
True that.
I got Rocket Sauce, one of the Cartridge Club overlords down there.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank
And
you.
then we have Captain Algebra rocking the sweetest Macho Man shirt. I also own that myself. Oh, yeah. Thanks for being here, Cap.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to talk NES.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here to talk about. Can you believe it? It's the 40th anniversary of the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, this year. Now, I believe it actually came out in November. So we're kind of ahead of the game. That's why you haven't seen anything yet. The Cartridge Club got there first. And we are going to celebrate it. We've been celebrating it all month long in the month of March. And as we know, in the Cartridge Club, the month of March is March Madness, where we don't just pick one game to play. We pick a bunch of games, and it's usually whatever I choose. And I'm stupid because I make a lot of work for myself because I got to edit this silly thing and find like 100 different videos of games and all of that. But you know what? I love doing it. And the videos are always very fun. What am I patting myself on the back right now? I hope you guys enjoy it. That's why we're here. We're here to talk about the NES, and let's get into it. So I decided to do something a little bit special this time. We're all a fan of listicles, top 10, top 5s. I thought it would be fun, because when you talk about the NES, it's like, what hasn't been said about the NES already, right? Like, it's just the same games over and over. We get it. Zelda's great. Mario 3 is great. The list goes on and on. I didn't want this to be a show where we just talked about all the great games on the NES. We know what the great games are. So I put a challenge out to my guests to come up with a creative top 5 list. And you could do, the sky was the limit. The only limits was the limits of your imagination with this list. And we got some great lists, I think. I don't know. I only know the titles. I don't know the games. None of us know the games. It's going to be very exciting to find out. And we are going to start right now with Rocket Sauce. Rocket Sauce, let me do my little fancy thing here. Oh. Hi.
Hi.
There you go. Rocket Sauce, you are up. Please tell us, what list do you got for us?
So my list is very exciting. And I chose top 5 sports games for the NES.
Ooh.
Yeah. There's a lot of sports games for the NES. A lot of bad ones too. But there's always a lot of good ones too. And I guess should I start with some maybe I don't know if I want to go with honorable mentions. I guess maybe I'll throw one honorable mention that I enjoy. I don't know if it's considered a great game, and I didn't grab it as a prop, so I'm kicking myself for it now. These are here are for my list. But I like the NES Open for a golf game. Just maybe because it's like the first like Mario Golf. I always just kind of enjoy that one and golf too. So just a little honorable mention. I was debating putting it on this list, but ultimately these ones are better. But number 5, I'm going to start with a baseball title, and these two are also going to be kind of piggybacked in being an honorable mention because they're probably better. And the thing about it is I didn't get with these games. No one I knew had them growing up, and I didn't rent them. I don't ever recall seeing them at the store, but they were part of my collection, adding them on through the years. And I'll go with these are the honorable mention parts. Dusty Diamond All-Star Softball. I like it because I mean you can choose. You can do a fast pitch softball game, and you can do. I like doing the slow pitch softball game, and the team you have to assemble yourself, and they all have weird, wacky abilities. Like there's a witch. There's like I know there's like a demon guy. And they all have like just some trick pitches, and it's a fun game. I like the fact that it's slow pitch and like there's all these wacky pitches going on. So it's just an honorable mention. Like I said, if it's maybe something I probably would have absolutely loved as a kid growing up. I discovered it later on, and I got this at Portland a few years back at the discovery of the Honey Hole.
Do me a favor, Ryan. Name one other softball game on any system.
Yeah, I can't.
Got it.
Yeah, got me. Damn it.
I also like that one too because all of the fields have like these little special home rules, like where the ball can bounce under or over the fence or something like that. It's really it's so true to childhood. It's so awesome.
For sure. Yeah, like you'll be making a play from the outfield and it'll hit a rock and it just stops. So yeah. But it's something that I remember hearing about it, and I saw it at Portland and bundled it with a few other games, and it's a good time. Another one that is highly known of and it's well loved in the baseball scene for the NES is Baseball Stars 1 and 2. I think I would probably
this another honorable mention.
Yes, this is just an honorable mention.
He's doing like a top 10 list over here.
This is the out of all the sports games, these are the only ones that are getting honorable mentions because I acknowledge that the one I chose is not better than these two, but it's one I grew up with, and it means more to me. So I don't want people to be like, you chose that one over those two. I 100% acknowledge that these two are probably way better games than the one I chose. It's just that I grew up with this one over these two. And I know this game, like I said, it's better. There's a lot more features to it. The production is a lot better than the one I chose. But I just had to mention them because I know they're better. And so that people don't dog me for my choice here.
Hey, Ryan, remember, it's your list. It
doesn't
matter what other people say.
Yeah. I know. But like I said, I can acknowledge because those games are fun. But for my baseball game, I'm going with Bases Loaded 3. Probably, I know it's seen as one of the worst, but it's the one I probably played the most. 1 or 2 or 3, but I like the defense better in 3. How it lines up behind the plate or behind the pitcher. To me, I've played this the most, and submarine pitchers in this game are unhittable. Like you can get one at the closer, and it's just ridiculous because the computer can't even hit it. It's just something that means to me, and I think 4 is probably even better than 3. But 4 is another obscure game that I got many years ago. I didn't play with it, but this is one that was part of my life. 1 and 2, I think, might be seen better than this one as well, but I don't like the defense in 1 and 2. It's just not my go-to baseball game. Yeah. And there's going to be a couple of sports games like this where I think can go any direction for if you're this one or this one, which brings a good leadway to the next game here. And it is a hockey game. And anytime I think I've ever talked about hockey games, it kind of comes to debate: are you an ice hockey guy or are you a Blades of Steel guy? And let's can we do a little poll of everyone here? Like, are you an ice
Blades.
hockey? You're
Oh,
Blades.
Blades.
Yeah.
I have
Blades of
not
Steel?
played either of them enough to have an opinion.
Oh, Cap, come on, man.
I know I need to. Maybe this month.
I mean, yeah, if I had to, it'd be like NHL 94 or 96. But since we're talking NES, Blades of Steel for sure.
Yeah, for
Silver
me, it's
label.
for me, it's Blades of Steel.
Blades of Steel.
There it is.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, for me, it's Blades of Steel. The fighting is so much better. My cousin Dustin had this game, and I remember playing this at his house, and then him bringing it over to my house when I got an NES, and like watching him and my uncle Kenny play this game. It just brings back great memories. I love this game. The fighting's way better than it is in ice hockey. I think they just like roll around in ice hockey. The thing about ice hockey is like your choice between fats and skinnies, for your guys. But this one's just, it's way more fun for me. I like this one. I don't think I have the red label yet variant, but anyways, this is a very good time. I like this one a lot. Wayne Gretzky hockey, on the other hand, complete garbage.
Blades of Steel also has like Konami commercials in between periods too, which is cool. Like there's like an ad for Gradius. And also when I was a kid, my neighbor had that game and I really wanted it. And I remember telling my mom, for some reason, I got my wires crossed. I was a kid and I was like, Mom, I want the NES game Buns of Steel. I got our neighbor has it. I got to get it. She was like, I'll look for it. I didn't get it. She didn't find it.
But you got buns that are made of steel?
I don't know. I think that was like a workout DVD back in the 90s.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I got it confused.
And check this out to this day. Yeah.
It would be sweet if I was like, but I didn't get the game, but my butt is great. That it turned out okay for me.
On to my number 3 spot for the sports games. It's gonna be a football game. And I'm going to go with probably the most well-known football game on the console, and it's Super Tecmo Bowl.
Classic.
Tecmo Bowl, I think, has maybe a little bit more nostalgia for me because that's the one my cousin Dustin had, but this one's better. It is. It's one that actually has all the teams of 1991? Yeah, it's 91, according to the label. So we got the Magic Man thrown to Sterling Sharp, Hall of Famer. The Packers, it's a good time. It really is a good time. The big draw about that one though is Tecmo Bowl is that everyone knows about Bo Jackson being untackable. It's a broken game. This one's I like the fact that this one also every year gets a free patch. You can just download the ROM every year, put it either on an emulator or EverDrive. And there is, I think in Madison, Wisconsin has a Super Bowl weekend. They do their Super Tecmo Bowl Super Bowl every year. It's like big.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you ever played any of the updates? Do you
I did. I actually played last year's one. Actually, after I found out how easy it was, where you don't even have to do any patching. They literally just dump the ROM every year on the website. Cool. I forgot what the website was called, but they have I think almost every generation or since they started doing it. So it's all cool with the updated rosters. And
do stats change at all? Like given the player on the team, like if you're playing the Chiefs, is like Mahomes amazing,
I don't know if it's broken. I don't recall if it's broken or not. But I imagine there's probably better and worse teams.
Right.
Like Tecmo Bowl is broken, but I think it's a little bit more fair balance. So
a little disappointed you didn't pick 10-yard fight. Okay. What
Sorry.
a classic.
I should ask, are you doing one for each sport or something as you go?
Well, no, I didn't do that for that one because I did think about it while lining up, but no, just the next one isn't really like a sport title. It's a sports game, and I guess I'll reveal that right this way unless someone else has any wonderful Tecmo Super Bowl stories. Anyone else? No. Anyways, it's a very good time. This one though is I debated making this my top sports game because I play this one a lot. It's a lot of fun playing against friends with this one too. And it's an easy sports game, but it's a lot of fun, and that's Super Dodgeball.
Good choice.
Good one.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Just playing as Team America and ripping through the world here, and just the charge, run, throw, and smack. And you get, just wiping out. Like you can line up and take almost a whole team out on a charge throw. It's just so much fun. shortly after I got the NES, this one I definitely sought after. And the guys all look like River City Ransom guys. So I don't know. This one's just a really good time. It's hard to literally go on because there's no story mode to it. It's just, dodgeball, but it's a lot of fun. So I would, just for the sake of being different, I thought about making this number one, but number one on this list is a game that I rented a ton. I never owned, but it was the first game that when I got back into collecting over 20 years ago, it was, I was buying from a kid in high school. He was selling his NES. We were just talking about NES games, me and my friend Tony. And I was like, man, it'd be a lot of fun to play Mega Man 3 again. Man, it'd be a lot of fun to play Mario 3 again. It'd be great to play this game. And the kid mentioned that he had all those games and his NES. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's just stored in a closet. I'm like, well, what would you like it? And this is like probably a week after starting my first job ever. And he said, $20. And he sold me like 10 games. And this game was included. And it meant a lot because, I mean, Mike Tyson was the king in the fucking 90s,
Nice.
right? So he was, I honestly, I never played Punch Out ever. I never even saw Punch Out, but Mike Tyson's Punch Out was a big, big deal. And I mean, because he was just everywhere, right? And then it's just so much fun. I've beaten this game. I beat it in high school. Mostly thanks to the password system. I'll give it that. Walking through the game, no. But it's a phenomenal sports game. I think it still holds up. I think this one could be a future Cartridge Club game too, because there's a lot to talk about this game. But it's just my all-time favorite. I want to say it probably is my all-time favorite sports game. So, like I said, just for the sake of being controversial, I thought about going with it, but who am I fooling? It was one of the games that I was seeking right away when I got my NES back. So,
great choices.
Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful list. Yeah, good job, Ryan. I wanted to get into this show, fast and hard and have a top 5 really quick. And we did, and that was great. I did want to just kind of reverse for a second. And, we are talking about the NES. Just get a little background on what the NES means to each of us. Ryan, why don't you just kind of put a coda on your top 5 talking about the NES.
What was that? Sorry.
Well, I mean, what does the NES mean to you? Did you grow up with it?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's the NES is what got me into video games. I didn't know what video games were into Mario Brothers 1. Not Mario Brothers, but Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers. That was my introduction to all video games. I can recall going to my cousin Dustin's house, probably for Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever. And it's basically cousins get together, adults go over there. And I went to his bedroom and he showed me his NES with Mario Brothers. And he's like, hey, this is it. This is whatever video games. And just kind of showed me what playing, and it blew my mind. And then the following year, I didn't have an NES yet. I'm like, I got to play that video game again. That was, you wait almost a whole year to play video games again. And he had Mario Brothers 2. And then that was the introduction of, I was like, oh, this is Luigi, and he has all these, different abilities. And Princess, she can glide. And this is Toad. Blew my mind again, where I'm like, Jesus, I got to have an NES. I still didn't have to wait like another year or so. The first time I got the NES was shortly after The Wizard came out, which was, just a straight movie production for Mario Brothers 3. And I remember seeing it in theaters at the Skyway movie theater by the airport. And the reveal of Mario Brothers 3, I didn't know Mario Brothers 3 was, and I just knew it was a movie about video games and the NES. And I was like, I'm all aboard this. And then you see Mario Brothers 3 I think that was even a thought in my head. I'd be like, man, it'd be really cool if they had a Mario Brothers 3, not knowing anything about it because I didn't have Nintendo Power or a video game at that time. And just seeing that shit, and that blew my mind. Oh, he's a raccoon and he can fly? Are you kidding me? Fly? That's the next level of evolution in video games, right? So, from that point forward, I had to get NES. With my first Holy Communion money that I got, I went to Target, and my mom was trying to makeshift me to buy the classic bundle that came with Mario Duck Hunt, the gun, and 2 controllers. And she was like, you can play with your sister, or you can get the classic set I believe is the one that comes with Mario 3. And then, but I think it only came with one controller. And I was like, I don't give a shit about playing with my sister. I want Mario 3. And like that blew my mind, man. I'm telling you, I got home, must have played that for like 4 hours straight. I got in a phone call with these twins that were in my grade school. It's Alan and Michael, I think their names were. And we're just like, are you playing this? Yeah, I'm in level 3. And then it was just like it set me down the path that I am today as the gamer. So here I am still collecting them. So
that's great. What about you, Trav?
Yeah, I think my history is somewhat similar to Rocket's. Definitely the first console that I came in contact with, much like Rocket, I had no idea what a video game was. It was Christmas morning when I was 5, and my parents showed it to me, and they're like, "How about that?" And I was like, Why did you get me a toaster? I'm but a child." And it was basically my dad's toy for a long time. I mean, I played it, but I wasn't any good. But my dad, I remember, it's kind of like reverse roles. I remember walking downstairs and seeing him like, crisscross applesauce in the floor on Saturdays, just plowing through Mario 1. And I was like, I can't even get past the first level. But my brother also had one. He's a bit older than me. He was in the Army actually when I was born, and he passed down a bunch of games to me. And so I had a lot of his hand-me-downs like Guerrilla War and Legend of Zelda and Super Sprint and Galaga and Mario. So those were the 5 games I had for like 6 years. Those are the only games other than occasional rentals. So I mastered all of those at some point. But there was something too, I think there's like a mystique to it, seeing like your dad and your brother be really good at those games and you not, where you're like, will I ever be able to get to these far reaching corners of the map? Will I ever see these bosses? And I don't know, there's just something about like the quest of every game of, can I see like what other people haven't ventured to before with some of these games. And so much like a lot of the people in this community, I got into collecting them. And then there was some guilt with like, well, I have a ton of these things and I'm not giving them all attention. Maybe I can like motivate myself to dig into them more by creating content with them. So that's what kind of started the channel idea. So now it's given me excuse to kind of go through one by one, dissect them and see what's going on in there and kind of create as much of a repository for myself as it is for anyone who might want to follow those videos. And so, yeah, it's the start of my video game journey, and it's become a very big part of my life.
Yeah, if you haven't checked it out, check out NES Friend on YouTube. Where are you at right now? How many games?
Collector wise, that's a good question. I think 680.
Sorry, on the channel.
Oh, on the channel. I think there's about 180 videos, but some of the reviews are compilations. So we're probably north of like 240, 250 total games.
Great. Yeah. Wow. That's like, what is that? Like a third? No. Yeah.
Roughly, yeah.
Third of the
Algebra,
library.
no, what do you got on that?
It's the weekend. I don't have to do math.
That's awesome. Captain Algebra?
Yeah, it was my first console, but it was technically my brother's. He's a little bit older than I am. And so my first gaming memories are playing, the Mario games, Contra and Super C, Double Dragon 1 and 2, Back to the Future, Jaws. We had Dragon Warrior, but I don't know if I ever played it more than 5 minutes because I had no clue what I was doing. But I'm sure I was like 4 at the time because I was born in 88. So I'm not sure when my brother got it. I'm assuming he got it before me. But it's really cool because we have a lot of like home movies from when we were kids, and you see like Chris's videos and birthday videos where my brother's opening up like Mega Man or Mario 3 and like just seeing how excited he gets. I don't think I ever got any games for the console. I was more of like the Super Nintendo and the Genesis. So I love the NES, but it's probably not, even though it was my first console I played games for, it's probably not as high on my list as it might be for other people, just because the Super Nintendo and the Genesis came out so early on in my life that I probably started playing that quicker and kind of left the NES behind. I've always loved it, but I just like those consoles more. But it was kind of cool getting into like retro gaming back again about, 10 years ago. I started getting boxes from Video Games Monthly because I saw all these advertisements about people getting these video games. I'm like, is this real? And I'd watch people's videos. I'm like, this is pretty cool. I didn't know this was on the NES, and so I finally signed up and I started collecting, and just to be able to experience the library now, but all these games I didn't know existed. Like, we only had Mega Man. I had no clue that Mega Man 2 through 6 existed on the NES. And so it was like, that opened up a whole new world to me because I absolutely love Mega Man. And I know it's by far probably the worst game in the series on the NES, but it's my favorite because of nostalgia. It's the only one we had. And so it's fun revisiting the games and experiencing new ones. And it's, it's a testament that 40 years later, we are still talking about that console. And for many, it's their favorite console of all time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Cap. I was born in 87 and it was the first console we had, sort of. It was like my parents were divorced, but my mom's boyfriend at the time had an NES. I distinctly remember playing the original Super Mario Brothers. And nothing past that because like it broke or something. And then that Christmas we got a Super Nintendo. So growing up, the NES was like, like my friends had it and like siblings and cousins and stuff, but it was always this kind of like mysterious thing to me because you'd go over and you'd be like, oh, what games are those? Like, 'cause I had a Super Nintendo, so I knew like Super Nintendo stuff, but I was like, what is that? What's Ninja Gaiden? Ninja Gaiden. I loved, and to this day, I love Duck Hunt. It's just like the light gun thing was so cool to me. Because I never even had a Super Scope as a kid, but I love the clay pigeon, the clay pigeon shooting,
clay
or whatever.
pigeons, yep.
Yeah, that was awesome. I remember playing that. And then, it was just like, it would kind of come in and out of my life. So I didn't really learn a lot about the NES until I was an adult, especially a lot of the games that I personally love now. I didn't discover till I was an adult. In fact, until retro gaming kind of exploded again, I didn't even know what an NES box looked like. I was like, that's what they came in? That's what it looked like? I was so used to like with the Super Nintendo, I had no idea that's what an NES box. And to this day, I'm like, it's weird seeing those boxes and holding them. So I was like, I have no memory of it. I'm sure I came across it at some point, but I just don't remember it. So yeah, the NES, I'm with you, Cap, where the Super Nintendo kind of means more to me and is celebrating its 35th anniversary next year for those paying attention. But a lot of, and my top 5 will be informed by my history of the NES as well. But before we get to that, let's take a little break from our sponsors and we'll be right back.
Power, power, power. Now, you are playing with Power.
Punch Out by Nintendo.
Play with Power.
11 world-class contenders. Take them down with your controller, beat them all, and you've got a shot at Tyson's title.
Play. Power.
But for that, you've got to beat Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's Punch Out from Nintendo. Now you're playing with Power.
And we're back. Wow. We got another top 5 coming at you. This time from Captain Algebra. Cap, you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. Let me just.
There we
go. Take it away.
All right. So I chose the top 5 LJN games. So if you weren't ready to get mad at Ryan for his choice of sports games, get ready. Get your torches and pitchforks, because I know the LGN is made fun of a lot on the NES, but I grew up with 2 of the games and I absolutely love them. And it was so surprising when I joined the retro gaming community and all of a sudden these 2 games that I absolutely love were like universally hated. And then I found AVGN and I were like, okay, that makes sense. People watch his videos and don't actually try the games themselves. And so that's where there's myth came from that LGN is bad. But I'm here to share my personal top 5. And there's going to be no objectivity to this. This is all nostalgia behind it. And so you might disagree, but that's okay. I will admit I've not played all of the LJN games. Early on when I started collecting NES games, it was my goal to get all 26 on the console. So I have that, but I have not played all the way through them yet. So some might be better, but these are my 5. The 5th one is one that I actually just played this past year, and I liked it so much that I ended up doing a no-death run of it, and that would be Spider-Man Return of the Sinister Six. So this game is very janky, but once you learn it, it's really not that bad, and it's cool to see all the comic book people in there. I mean, you got who is it, Electro, Sandman, Doc Ock, Mysterio, Hobgoblin, and Vulture. And some of the boss fights are a little finicky and stuff. And you only get basically one continue. So you have to get through on 2 lives to get through the game. But it's short. It's only like 6 levels. And it's fun. Like I said, if I enjoyed enough to want to keep playing it to go for the no death run, then it can't be that bad. And so if you like comic books, I think it's worth playing.
Cap, can I ask you, is your draw for LJN because of all the licensed properties that they did?
No, it's the fact that I grew up with 2 of them and absolutely love them, and the fact that so many people hate them. And so I kind of wanted to, as part of me being in the community, I wanted to kind of put out my thoughts on the games and hopefully get other people to give them a shot instead of just listening to other people's opinions. Because I feel like some of us, we'll look at a review and then automatically form our opinion on the game without trying it. And I feel like you're doing, it's not doing the game justice. You should try it for yourself before you actually, give an opinion on it. So that's kind of where it came from. I will say one that almost beat that out was Friday the 13th. I really do like Friday the 13th, but
Good one.
Yeah, I have not played it probably like in 6 years when I streamed it, and I had a lot of fun with it. It's really not that confusing once you learn what to do, but I think because of recency bias, I had to go with Spider-Man. Number 4 is The Punisher. So this is a fantastic on-rail shooter. It gets knocked because there's no music in the game other than in boss fights. But I enjoy the sound effects of like the shooting and stuff. The bullets sound really good. But it's kind of cool because as you're going through, the D-pad moves you. But if you hold the button down, you'll stay still and then just move your reticle around the screen to shoot stuff. You're obviously trying to shoot everybody so they don't take your health down, but you can shoot windows and boxes to get ammo or to get health, to get grenades. There's a boss fight at the end of every level. And then I believe the final boss is Kingpin. There is some music in some of the levels because every once in a while there's a guy playing a saxophone, and if you shoot him, he starts like this like sad music starts to play, which is kind of funny. But you don't want to shoot him. But then if you want music, you could shoot him. But yeah, it's not the prettiest of games. It's pretty ugly. The graphics aren't great, but the gameplay's fun. And I think for me personally, when it comes to games, as long as the gameplay's fun, that's really all I care about. Music is a bonus. I really don't care about story in games. But if it's fun to play, then I like it.
Did you ever notice, I've noticed this about LJN, that a lot of their games, for such a bad reputation as they have, so many of their games have awesome like box art and cover art, like to draw you in, like The Punisher. Can you hold that up again?
Yeah.
This is awesome. Like, that is awesome. Look at that. What kid wouldn't want to play that?
Yeah, it's probably my favorite box art for an LJN game. It's sweet. I think where LJN gets a bad rep is that you got to remember that they just published the games. There was a ton of different developers, and so some of the developers made better games than others. LJN just published them, so you got to give them a chance. All right, number 3. This is one of the games that I grew up with, and that is Jaws. So this is an extremely short game. If you know what you're doing, you can beat it in 10 minutes or less. Basically, you're going around this kind of tiny little map in your boat, going from port to port. And if you hit something or you hit Jaws, you go into the water, and you can, if you're in a shallow end, it's really shallow water. It's harder to avoid the enemies, or you can get in deeper water. And there's like rays and jellyfish swimming around. Eventually Jaws and then like mini Jaws show up. And basically you want to do is you want to shoot as many enemies as you can and collect all the conch shells, because then they're kind of your currency. Because when you go port to port, you first get a Jaws receiver, so you can kind of like find him. It'll start to make more blips and faster the closer you are to Jaws. But then from there on, your power level just goes up, which makes it easier to fight Jaws. And then what's really cool is something I didn't know as a kid was there's a mini sub. I don't remember what it takes to get it. I don't know if it's a point value or if it just randomly shows up. But basically, you can move around faster, and then you're more powerful. And it can shoot bombs as well as like harpoons. So it makes taking down Jaws really, really cool and really fast. I think my favorite part, though, is when you finally get Jaws' health bar down, it comes like this first person where you're in your boat and Jaws is swimming at you, and you kind of have to aim it right, and then you shoot a strobe, which makes Jaws pop up into the air a little bit, and then you thrust with your boat and kill him, and it's super cool.
Do you know which movie that is referencing?
It's 3, isn't it?
I believe it's The Revenge.
Revenge, okay.
Which would be 4, right?
4.
Oh, it is 4, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I knew it wasn't the first one.
Yeah.
So
I knew it was a sequel to one I liked. That's all I remember. Also feel like it's one of the better looking LJN titles too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's bright and colorful, which kind of is contrasted to Jaws, but it's very alluring. I remember really liking it as a kid just because it was very bright.
Yeah. And it kind of has like upbeat music.
Yeah.
Which you would think, if shark's attacking you, you probably wouldn't have upbeat music playing, but
the little crabs look friendly.
Yeah, exactly.
Until Jaws comes.
And those bonus scenes where you're flying over with the plane and the jellyfish are making all those formations, they're like synchronized swimming.
Forgot about that. I love that.
Yeah, it's good
stuff.
Good
choice.
Thank you. Number 2 would be one that I did not grow up with, but once I did learn about it, I had to have it, and it's extremely fun, and that is A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, this probably is, I think if I was being objective about it, probably the best LGN game, I think from a gameplay aspect, but my nostalgia for number 1 is too high that I can't not pick it for number 1. But what I love about this is you can play it 4-player. One of the few games you could use that 4 score for on the NES. And I have played it 4-player before, and it is tough. You need to have 4 people that are good at the game. Because if you play with someone who's bad, they're just going to hold you back. So unfortunately, I played with people that had not really played this game before, and we didn't get very far. But fortunately, like when they die, you just can keep going. It's not like your game ends. But this one, I believe, is based off of Dream Warriors. Right? Is that
so? Yeah.
Like their powers? Yeah. So that's super cool. Is you're going through the beginning of the game is kind of random. There's 3 houses you can go to, and you just have to figure out which one you're actually going to go into first on the playthrough. After those 3, it's a very set order of where you go. But basically, you're going into these houses, you're finding all of Freddy's bones, and then you have to make it to the area and kind of throw all the bones into the furnace eventually to get rid of Freddy. But there's a boss fight in every single level, and it kind of takes on different forms. Sometimes he's kind of like a ghost that's flying through the air. There's one where he's this giant head that he's like kind of shooting these tongues out that are attacking you.
They're kind of creepy. It's well done.
Yes, it is very creepy, but very cool. But then, you got these dream powers. So when you collect tokens throughout the game, there's like a wizard, an athlete, and a ninja. I want to say those are the 3. And then, when you're in the dream state, when you fall asleep, the enemies get a little bit tougher, but you also have these dream powers. And so the ninja can do like this flying kick. The wizard shoots out like this power. It also has a little bit more floaty jump. And then the athlete can jump really well, but also shoot out like these spears almost. And so they make it a lot easier to fight stuff. And that's obviously how you want to fight Freddy, is using these dream powers. But it's a lot of fun. The control's a little bit slippery, but this is actually a Rare game. And so that's what I was talking about, depending on who developed the game for LJN, it made a difference, right? And so we know Rare is very good. And I think that's what makes this game pretty good is they kind of knew what they were doing when they were making games. And unfortunately, I just have a repro box. This is not an actual box. I've got the manual and everything, but I do want to eventually get the box for that one because that's another really cool box art.
Yeah, that's a game I always wanted to play, but I always hold off because the goal is always to play it as a 4-player as opposed to doing a solo run.
Right. I would suggest play it first, though, solo, get good at it, and then get a group of 4 people that know the game because then you'll actually get through the game.
Some of those bones are pretty tough to find, even though they're right in front of you. They're really hidden on screen.
Yeah,
so,
they blend in really well. Like there's sometimes where like you'll get to the end of the stage and all of a sudden the stairway is still blocked by the lightning. And you're like, okay, where did I miss the bone? So you got to go back through the level and find it. But yeah, it gets pretty tough. I don't remember. I think you take like 5 hits before a death, and you get I think 5 lives to start, and you get like 3 continue. So you've got a lot of chances, but sometimes you can kind of get in a bad spot where you take a lot of hits or maybe you fall into a pit. There is one jump that's pretty difficult where every time I play it, I almost, if I'm not in Dream World, I make myself kind of just wait there until I fall asleep, because then I can use one of the powers to be able to kind of make the jump better, because it's pretty tough to get that particular bone. And for my number one, this is another one that I grew up with, and this is probably the one that I was most shocked that people hated, because I absolutely love it, and that is Back to the Future.
Yes.
Crazy man.
I know. In fact, when I knew you were going to be on this, Trav, I was like, I remember when you started your NES friend videos, and you think you covered this one pretty early on, and I commented on it, and I was probably an asshole about it, because I defend this game so hard.
I love it. It is in my personal top 5 NES games.
Yeah. Oh, mine too. This is a top 10 NES game for me.
To my credit, I did just very recently put together a video on how to put yourself in a position to beat the game,
which was very good. I loved that.
See?
Yeah.
You know,
since the ending is, at least for me, more of a coin flip, but I'm interested to hear if you have some tricks for that.
Oh, for sure. So actually, as a kid, I never beat this. In fact, I never got past the diner where you're throwing the milkshakes, just because, like I said, I was too young and it's such a weird perspective. But so there's things that people hate about this that I love. People hate the music, and I love the music, even though it is on loop and it's the only thing you hear throughout the game, basically. Yep. But it's the power of love sped up. How can you not love that? You know, I heard that. I was driving home today from the store, and Power of Love came on. I'm like, yes, perfect. I'm talking about Back to the Future tonight on the podcast. Oh, you could totally hear it too.
I was like, I hope he has Back to the Future on this list, because I absolutely love that game. I played it just this week. For those of you that don't know, I work at a video game store, and I was by myself, and I had one of those like multi-carts that has like 800 games on it, and I was like, I'm gonna play some Back to the Future, and I'll be damned if I didn't play through the whole damn thing.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And another thing that people hate about it is they say it doesn't follow the movie that well. Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you. Exactly. Okay, so number one, in the movie, the picture of his family is disappearing. Boom, right in the corner of the game, you've got that picture that's disappearing. Okay. Now, granted, you got to pick up clocks to make sure they come back, and that's not in the movie, but
thematic.
Thematic. Right. It's thematic. Like, Back to the Future is not the type of a movie that's going to make the greatest video game if you made it perfectly follow the movie. Right. But you've got that. You've got, you got to fight off bullies. You've got to defend yourself from your mom falling in love with you. You've got the rock show at the high school.
I love that mini game. That's my favorite one.
Yep, by far my favorite mini game. I absolutely love that. So much fun.
The easiest one, that's for sure.
For sure.
The one against the mom is so hard. There's no room for error there.
But there is some room, because you can actually block 2 hearts at a time without moving. So it's not like you have to be lined up perfectly with a heart.
Right. Yeah.
You can line up where you can just like stay still and block 2 hearts, and so you don't have to move as often. I personally like to kind of move every single time, just make small little incremental movements. But that's how I play it. And then another thing is, a lot of people get mad because you have so many lives at the end of the game, but if you don't beat the last level, you automatically lose. But I'm like, that's in the movie. He only has 1 shot to get back. Like, that's perfectly following the movie. So you can't argue that. Yeah.
That part I don't like as much, but the rest of your points are not.
But it's from the movie, Trav. Come on, you can't argue it.
I mean, every final boss is like, this is your last chance. I mean, I earned the lives. At least send me back. Let me replay the guitar mini game if you're going to punish me.
Yeah, there you go. And that is probably one of the harder ones, just because you have that one shot, and it is random where the lightning strike. Before I played it the other night, I was actually on a roll where I had not lost that game for 5 straight times that I played through it. I even did a no death run of it where I didn't die at all. And then, of course, I played a couple nights ago, and I actually did. I didn't make it through on that first attempt. I didn't make 88, so I had to start the game over. But I got it done that time. My buddy Megadan, his tip on that one is to kind of drive slowly. Don't get fully up to speed right away, because the length of the level doesn't change. So if you understand when it's coming up, the end, you can kind of time when you want to start going fast, and then it's easier to avoid the lightning strikes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a quick question? How do you feel about Back to the Future 2 and 3?
That is one I have not played enough of.
I can't stand those games.
But I've not heard good things, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
You probably end up liking it, but
I don't know about that.
It's a hairy one for sure.
Yeah.
Do you find that on the last level of the game that getting over on the edge, like a little bit off the road, helps? In my brain, it does. It seems to make sense because there's like less probability of the lightning striking where you can go off road a little bit.
Right. That would make sense. I don't know. I don't think I really have any strategy for it. I feel like I just watch where the lightning strikes and try to avoid it as best I can, which is not always easy.
Right.
But I don't know if there's a great way to do it. It's just kind of, you got to have good reflexes. I think the hit detection's a little weird too, where sometimes you're like, I did not hit that lightning strike.
I agree.
It slows you down.
Yeah.
So.
And honestly, to me, if you make it to that stage, you've beat the game. Because the last 4 skateboarding levels are so brutal.
Yep.
Like, you better have a bowling ball and the skateboard. It is very hard to.
And that's another thing I love is just it has good difficulty progression, right? Yeah. Those first, the first few roads are not that difficult. The bees move pretty slowly. The enemies don't attack you that much. You can kind of dodge the bees, and as soon as they go off screen, they're not coming back. But by the end of the game, a bee might go off screen and it might still come back at you.
Yep.
They also
and there's like 3 bees at a time. It's
they turn on a dime. Yep. Like, you think you made it past it, but boom, it's right there on you again. Yep. And so I like that progression. It gives you a chance to get good at the game. But those later levels, if you get hit once, knocked down, you're done. Because that clock goes so fast.
You get 2 hits. If you get hit more than twice and you don't have a skateboard at any point, which obviously speeds it up, you're done.
Yeah, it really depends on if you start with a skateboard or not and how far you get. Because if, like, let's say you ended the previous level without a skateboard, so you're not starting the next level with a skateboard. If you get a hit early on, it's very unlikely you're going to make it.
Yeah.
Especially since there's one part of those, I don't remember which road it is in that section, but there's one that's an extremely long level. Yeah. So you better get on a skateboard and keep moving.
The idea of hitting a bee from a skateboard with a bowling ball is cool.
It is. Yeah. I will say I don't like how the bees can keep up with you, because you would think like, I get on a hoverboard, skateboard, I'm going faster, but the bees are still moving just as fast. It's like, come on, I should be able to leave them behind a little bit.
That's great.
2 and 3 is awful, though. 2 and 3 is awful.
Yeah, I heard.
Not good.
I've heard. I was tempted to kind of joke with you guys and put X-Men as my number 1, but that is. I have not played enough of that one game, but I know for sure I'm going to hate it. Like, that one sucks.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
All right.
Fun list.
Thank you.
That was a very, very good list, and I'm so glad he brought it Back to the Future. RocketSauce was talking about how the whole reason he made his list was for Super Dodgeball. Had you not said that you were going to do the LJN thing, I was going to try and figure out some list that I could talk about Back to the Future.
Yep.
I was gonna do the top 5 Back to the Future games on the NES.
I mean, you got to talk about it. I'm very happy. There's been a couple people in the community that I've convinced to give it another shot, and they've come back and said they actually like it now versus when they were, when they tried it before. I'm like, see, it's not that bad.
Yeah. Well, listen, we've come a long way, but we still got a long way to go. We got 2 more top 5s left, and we will get to the next one right after this.
Now, I have a really excellent preview for you. When someone mentions Bad Dream to you, who do you think of? Who has the face that launched 1,000 nightmares? Freddy, that's who! And now he's back, but this time he's on the NES. Just like on the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, Freddy is ready to give you the fright of your life. The object of the game is to search through the buildings on Elm Street, look for Freddy's bones, collect them, and burn them in the high school furnace. There's a great effect that happens when your player falls asleep. You become a dream warrior and get stronger powers to battle the most feared horror legend of all time, Freddy Krueger. Well, that's all for today. But tomorrow, we'll take a look at a version of Double Dragon for Game Boy. More edge tips, more power team, more video power.
I'm going to blow my nose really quick and cut it out.
I think you should leave it.
Yeah, leave it.
I think you should pull a bros move and not do any editing and just leave everything in.
I've been waiting to do that for so long. I don't know what it is that I'm allergic to. Excuse me.
Clearly, you just need to move back to Wisconsin.
Yep.
Yeah, probably. Speaking of,
Go Pack Go.
Ready, aim, punish. The Punisher for Nintendo. Explosive arcade action. State-of-the-art weaponry. Got the guts? The Punisher for Nintendo from LJN. Everything's a target, even you.
and we're back. Okay. So we did the top 5 sports games. We did the top 5 LGN games. Now it's my turn. And I know I told you guys I was going to do something, but I lied. I'm actually doing a different top 5 list. I believe Ryan knows the top 5 list I'm doing. I originally was going to do a top 5 Famicom exclusive games because I work at a video game store in Little Tokyo in downtown Los Angeles, and I order all the Japanese games, and I love exploring the catalog and finding the English-friendly games that I can recommend to people, because that's what most people want. You know, they want the games that they can play. You're not going to, you know, most people can't play the RPGs and stuff. So I was going to do that list, and I still encourage you all to seek out the Famicom games, English-friendly stuff. There's a lot of great games out there that never made it to America. However, upon reflection, I came to the conclusion that there was a list that I needed to talk about more, and that is this. How do I get back? Oh, there we go. All right. My top 5. I will be doing the top 5 most overrated NES games.
Nice.
This is sure to inspire some discussion, I hope. Number 5. And I don't have fancy games to show like you guys. You guys have been doing really great, by the way, Captain, Algebra, and Rocket Sauce. I have no games to show. I'm going to just cut to video.
Clearly, Ryan and I are the professionals, and you're
clearly.
lacking.
Absolutely. This is why I bring you on the show, to make me look good, because I'm terrible. All right. Number 5. Batman.
This is a hot take.
Yeah,
I should point out.
It's scorching here.
I should point out all 5 of these games I don't like to play.
Wow.
Yeah. And number 5 is Batman. Plain and simple. Bad controls. Now, you might say, that's a hot take. I don't agree with it. But let's talk about the wall jumping. It's stupid. I don't like it. And it's bad.
Are you sure you're just not bad?
That is also true. I am also bad at it, but it does not inspire me to want to be better. When I play Back to the Future, I want to get better at it. I don't want to get better at Batman. Batman frustrates me. It has really cheap enemies, right?
No.
Lies.
Other than those guys in level 3 that just kind of jump right on you, I hate those guys. I feel like the rest of them are fine.
Right. And maybe the guys, as you're wall jumping, there's some guys like on crevices and stuff. They're kind of annoying, but
so there's 2 guys. We'll say there's 2 guys.
There's
that are
2.
bad.
That's it.
Oh,
Yeah, the final 2 bosses. The final 2 bosses. That's about it.
And then also the final boss. Yeah, the final boss also a little bit cheap. But other than
that was my next point. The Joker is nigh unbeatable. All right.
He's beatable.
He's definitely beatable.
He's beatable, but it might take you 100 million tries to get good at the game. I don't like games like that where I have to quote unquote get good. It frustrates me, and I feel like there's too much trial and error with the wall jumping throughout the whole game. You just have to like pixel perfect do this dumb wall jumping stuff, and I'm over it.
Are you sure your controller's not bad?
Right?
You holding it upside down?
Listen, I will be the first to admit that my skill level plays into this. But again, something in the game just doesn't make me want to get any better at it.
And that music, though.
Keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Even the continue game over music is amazing.
Listen, all of these games have pros and cons, and like absolutely. Batman, I love the look of it. I love the purple Batman. I think that's awesome. Music, great.
4-2, that's amazing.
Yeah, we're gonna throw that on right now. Thanks, Ryan.
I thought people were going to come after me for my list, but I think you're taking the cake, Curtis.
Hey,
with one game.
Oh, you think that was good. Here we go.
You're starting off strong, yeah.
Number 4, Double Dragon 2. Now, I had to pick a game from the Double Dragon franchise. I feel like 2 is the big one, but I'll go so far as to say there is not one good beat 'em up on the NES.
That's another bad take.
And I am putting it all on the shoulders of Double Dragon 2. Double Dragon 2, first of all, is like one of the worst. The control scheme is stupid. When you gotta whichever direction you're facing, like you do the B and the A for like the direction. Like, why can't just like B be punch and A be kick? Why do I have to pay attention to the directions here?
I'll agree that's a weird game choice when they developed it. I agree with that.
Horrible. Also, and I know there's a game mode where you can choose not to do this, but the fact that it's included just drives me nuts. Friendly fire.
That's kind of that's par for the course for a beat 'em up.
I don't like
not all.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
I'll give him that. I'll give Curtis that. I don't care for that either.
I don't care for it, but it happens all the time. I mean, how many beat 'em ups don't have friendly fire?
The good ones.
Streets of Rage 2 is the best beat 'em up of all time. That has friendly fire.
Well, I play Streets of Rage 2 by myself because it's so great. I don't have to worry about friendly fire. But I do think that there is a severe lack of like good beat 'em up. Now, again, going back to what I said earlier, I grew up on the Super Nintendo. I played a lot of
slow beat 'em up games.
Beat 'em ups on the Super Nintendo, and they're just so much better. They're just so much more
slow
refined.
for you, probably.
So, would you say that Super Double Dragon is better than the Double Dragon games on the NES?
It can't be.
Oh, I would rather play Double Dragon 5, Shadow Falls, or whatever the fighting game, than Super Double Dragon.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
Just checking the temperature on you. Then.
Yeah.
Sure okay.
No. Final Fight is that's where it's at for me. Final Fight's the best. 2 and 3, perfect. Chef's kiss. So that's number 4. Number 3. You're gonna love this one, Sauce. Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
And I will say,
choose your words wisely.
I will say this is for one reason and one reason only, because the game is actually like pretty good. But I don't like to play it because I played Super Punch Out first, and Super Punch Out is far superior to Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
That's debatable.
They figured it out.
No.
They did.
Mm-mm.
The punching system in Mike Tyson's Punch Out, I don't like it. I don't like that you can run out of punches and then you're like, you're resting and you got to wait to try. No. I want I want to build up the little meter at the bottom, like in Super Punch Out. You can do the flurry of punches, like the rapid punch. It's so much better. And having played that first, going back to Mike Tyson's Punch Out, I was like, what is this? This is horrible. I could never get into it.
Woof.
And I was really mad when they announced there was going to be a new Punch Out on the Wii. I was like, yes, finally a new Punch Out game. And then it was like basically just an updated version of Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Well, yeah, because it's the better Punch Out game.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong.
Curtis, I know friends who value Super Punch Out over Punch Out, so I'll give you that. And overrated, I also think will deem as not bad as a topic. You know what I'm saying? Like as a choice of words, basically.
Notice I did not say bad. Mm-hmm. These games are not bad. They're overrated. Number 2, Kirby's Adventure. I don't get it. I've never gotten into Kirby games. The most fun I have with Kirby is in Super Smash Brothers. I don't like his controls. Mario is perfect. That's what I want in a platformer. I want to run through, be quick, do my hops and jumps, like get the timing down. I love that. That's so fun. Kirby is so slow. And then you got this like you got to like puff up and you're floating and you're shooting your like air bubbles at people as an attack. I don't get it. It's so slow. It's so boring. I just don't like. And honestly, the game's so easy that most of the difficulty comes from controlling Kirby. Like if you were Mario in the game, you would ace that game in a second.
What are all the cool powers that he can get?
That you get
cool
from,
powers.
eating
Yeah, what
people.
about that? Cool bosses?
No, because you're still playing as Kirby. It's this shiny turd.
And good replayability if you want to try and 100% the game, because there's all the secrets and you have to hold on to certain powers certain amount of time so you can actually use them to find the secrets.
But again, all of this stuff doesn't matter because I hate the way that Kirby controls. It's just not fun.
And he's pink. Damn it.
I do like that. Like that. And I would say that's one of my favorite looking Famicom cartridges because it's pink. It looks super cool. And we sell a lot of them just because of that. Like it's awesome. But it's never been. I just don't get into Kirby games. I like the Game Boy ones. I'm not a big fan of. All the way up Super Nintendo, the Switch, Forgotten Land, Star Allies. Nah, not my jam. Kirby's just not my guy.
All right.
That was number 2. Number 1. Anybody think they know what I picked for number 1?
I know what my number 1 is for overrated games, but yes, go.
I know my number 1.
Why don't you share what your number 1 overrated game might be? Captain.
Super Mario Brothers 1.
Oh, interesting. Ryan.
Castlevania 3.
Trav, do you have a number 1?
Metroid.
Yep, that's on my list too. I would say, yeah.
Metroid almost made my list. You know why I like Metroid though?
I do like it.
I like making the map with graph paper like we used to have to.
Right.
That's fun.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like there's something cool about that I like. It just gives me the warm and fuzzies inside. Mm-hmm. And that's not my number 1. No, number 1 seems obvious. There's only one choice, and that's Super Mario Brothers 3.
That's on my overrated list too, I would say.
No way.
I'll tell you, the biggest flaw that Super Mario Brothers 3 has, no save feature.
Yep.
I'll give you that for sure.
100%.
Come on, Nintendo.
100%.
We had Zelda came out before this, save feature. Metroid came out before this, password. Passwords and save features was not new to Nintendo games. Why does Super Mario Bros. 3 not have either?
Yep.
It is such a long game. You're telling me I got to go through this whole thing in one sitting.
I mean, you could use warp whistles and get through it pretty fast.
But what if you don't want to use
warp whistles? I agree.
What if you just want to enjoy the game? See all the different levels.
It's only like 2.5 hours. It's not bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Leave the NES on overnight like we all do.
Yeah, exactly.
Leave it. Well, that is funny. The old trick, leaving it on all night. Another problem, you can't replay the levels once you beat them. What's up with that? They give us this wonderful world map. You can't go back to anything. Part of the fun of Super Mario World, you talk about replayability. There's no replayability in this. There's no new secrets to discover. Do
you know every secret in Mario 3?
I know every single one.
You really? Okay.
Every single one. You give me a test right now on the secrets of Mario Bros. 3, I'll tell you.
A+.
Really? Because I thought I knew it, and when I was playing it the other day, I found one I never knew about.
Yeah, what's that?
I honestly don't remember where it was.
Did you know if you sit down on the white block in the 3rd level, you can get a warp whistle? I didn't know that.
Well, nonetheless, another thing. Speaking of power-ups, I don't think there's any good power-ups in Super Mario Bros. 3 aside from the leaf. Like, there's so many, and you know how you fill up the little bar at the bottom and you can like choose stuff? Aside from the obvious, like the mushroom and like the star and the stuff we've seen before, all of the new stuff is lame, except the leaf.
What about the frog suit? The frog suit's so good at swimming.
Now, the frog suit is like, dude, get on land with the frog suit.
Oh, for sure. Yes, I agree. It's terrible, but in the water, it's so good. Everyone complains about water levels in games because of the control. You put a frog suit on, you got perfect control.
Only good in underwater levels, though. But
still good.
And it's actually like worse for you if you are on land.
Oh yeah, it's terrible for sure.
I don't know. I find myself, I don't like by the end of the game, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got like 20 frog suits and like, what are the other things? I never use anything in it. I don't know. Whatever. I didn't like the power-ups. I also think I'm interested to hear your defense on this. I think the bosses are way too repetitive. And the levels with the airship. It's like you every world you're doing the same thing over and over again.
But they've got good difficulty progression, at least on the airships.
Yeah, but it's
you know,
the
I
same
mean,
thing.
they
Like,
start off
even-
pretty easily, and then gets a
Sure.
little bit more difficult.
Sure, but you couldn't shake it up a little bit. Give me something else. Like, why is
For
it?
sure.
Why do I got to play 20 airships in the game? And then the bosses, the turtle guy with the wiggly arms.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
How many of those are there in the game? Give us
Well,
something.
every
different.
fortress, yeah.
And
But
then
I
even-
agree. They could have done better with the bosses.
Yeah.
At
and
least
the Koopa kids, they're all kind of the same too.
right.
I
But
don't
at
know.
least they all have slight differences. I mean, like Wendy throws the circles. We got I don't know which one rides the ball and shoots the balls out. Some of them
Maybe.
when they land, you can't be on the ground, otherwise it'll stun you.
Sure. And did you know that Miss Pac-Man has a bow?
Yeah, but
Regular Pac-Man doesn't.
But that's it. At least
it.
they have gameplay differences. There's a difference there.
There is a difference. I'll give you that. But but overall, come on, you got to give me. It's pretty repetitive. Like you're seeing a lot of the same thing. It's always in the same kind of stage thing, and
For
there's
sure.
just nothing different about it.
Okay, so what do you think
and-
about Super Mario World? About their boss fights? They're not that different.
Well, it doesn't matter because Super Mario World is one of the greatest video games of all time.
Yeah.
I mean,
I got Curtis's back on that one too. Yeah.
Interesting how in that game it doesn't matter, but all of a sudden in 3 it does matter.
absolutely.
You know why? There's a dinosaur.
Yeah, Yoshi. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that was #1 in the Cartridge Club, like number 1, 100 best games.
It was, yeah.
Super Mario World was
It's a
#1.
great game. I'm not arguing. All right, Trav, we need your opinion though. 3 or World?
World.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'll be the lonely one with 3. It's fine.
You're gonna pick 3 over.
Oh yeah,
World?
I picked 3 over World.
Oh, insane, crazy. The last thing I have, the last red mark I have against Super Mario Bros. 3, the stupid sun in the desert.
You can kill it, right?
Can you?
Yeah.
Of course
Star.
I knew that. Of course I knew. That was a test. That was a test.
That's a
You
test.
passed.
A+, buddy.
Come on, it's just annoying. Notice how the sun is never turned up in any other. They reuse everything in every Mario game. What's never turned up again? The sun, because they know it sucks. Because it's stupid and annoying.
You do get that clown or that not clown cloud that stalks you in the first one, that shoots the little spiky things out.
The
yeah.
Lakitu?
Yeah, Lakitu. Yep.
Lakitu. Yeah.
Yep.
That's kind of
who doesn't-
sun-like. You don't hate that guy?
I love the Lakitu. In fact, that's one of my favorite levels in the original Super Mario Brothers is 4-1, where the Lakitu first shows up, because I love just running through it and trying to not stop while dodging all the Lakitu stuff. I don't know. I just really this isn't my list.
You could try to run and not stop and not let the sun hit you. I mean, it's the
There
same
you go.
thing.
Same thing right there.
It doesn't matter. I don't like the look of the sun.
I hate hot. I hate,
It looked at Curtis
being
wrong
hot.
one
I
time.
hate being sweaty.
You're not supposed to stare at the sun. That's your
Yeah.
problem.
That is the Karen of sun. It's just annoying. And I speaking of Super Mario Bros. 1, that's one of my favorite games of all time. Like the original Super Mario Bros.
Controls like ass.
But it's perfect. So I don't.
It controls badly, but it's perfect. That doesn't make much sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll agree with you, Curtis. Curtis, I think Mario Bros. 3 is overrated, despite it being one of my favorite games on the NES. I 100% agree with you that it is overrated. Maybe because I like World better as well. But yeah, the no save feature, no password system is it's a 4-hour game if you were to play it all the way through. And I know the warp whistle,
Ryan, 2.5.
And
I just did it the other night.
Of course, I'm poking a little bit of fun. I mean, all of these games are obviously kind of stone cold classics, and I know I'm in the minority, but I was thinking about what games do I never what am I going to play tonight? Those 5. I never choose them. Never.
Yeah. Even though I think Mario 3 is my #1 NES game. It's my favorite.
Well, it's it's hard to argue that being
right. But I completely agree about the no save feature or password for sure.
Yeah. And I love the wizard as well. And I love the ending. It doesn't even make me mad that the end of the game is them playing Super Mario Bros. 3. I love it. It's great. But yes, that is my top 5 most overrated NES games. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. After that heated discussion, we are going to take a quick break and be right back with our final top 5. right after this.
Double Dragon 2, The Revenge for your Nintendo Entertainment System. The best action game ever from Acclaim.
And we're back. All right, we got one left. Trav, you ready for us? Look at us. He's getting his game face on.
Oh, I'm so ready. Had to get some water. Had to get moist. This is gonna be a good time.
All right, here we go. Let me tee you up.
Make me big.
Boom. Look at
For
that.
no reason, because I also did not bring NES cartridges to hold up because I thought I was on a podcast, not talk shit. That's my bad. I didn't know. But I was going to do top 5 games that didn't get a sequel and would have been cool to have a sequel. So mine's kind of like an uplifting list in contrast to Curtis, who just dogged all of our childhoods. I got some good fun stuff here. So number 5, a game that honestly, Curtis, if you don't like Batman, you're probably not going to like this one. I'm bringing in Kabuki Quantum Fighter. That's my number 5. It's a game that's certainly not a household name. I'm trying to make it a household name. I go into every household and I say that game's name out loud because it reminds me a lot of Batman, just in terms of, it's a, I want to say like a kind of a technical platformer. I can't remember if it has wall jumping or not, but it does have a lot of that like acrobatic climbing up through the level type ninja-esque movement. And you're whipping everything to death with your hairdo. And that's neat. When's that ever happened before or since?
Shantae.
Besides Shantae. Yeah, good call. And that was an obvious one. I should have thought about that before I spoke. And also, it's all taking place inside of a quantum computer. It's got such a weird story because it's like your Colonel, like Scott O'Connor, like completely ripped from like Terminator lore almost, and you're digitized into computer system and you're stopping a rogue AI. So kind of ahead of its time in some regard. But it's somewhat of a unique platformer, and it's one that you see. No one ever thinks to play it because it sounds silly. It doesn't have you didn't have a playground life. No one was talking about it, so it kind of died in its time. But I think it would have been cool to get a little bit more out of that series. You could have more varied cyberspace environments. It's a wild story. You could really lean in on that. Like Shantae, you could do a little bit different melee combat with the hair. You could add different hair, maybe a ponytail and a mohawk, do different attacks. That'd be sweet. Maybe some hacking based puzzles, given that it's all quantum based. It could have been, they could have really added some legs to it, I think. But what we got is still pretty good. I recommend anyone to play that one.
Do you see that sequel also being on the NES or doing kind of the upgraded thing on the Super Nintendo?
So yeah, that's a good question. So when I was thinking about these, I was thinking about them as NES sequels. So obviously, if we got a sequel on the Super Nintendo for pretty much any game on the NES, it could be improved by quite a bit. But within the constraints of the NES, I still think another game in this series would have been fun.
Understood. Yeah.
How long of a game is it?
I think if you consider practice time and single run time, you could probably get good at it in under 4 hours and beat it in under 40 minutes.
Oh, it's not bad.
But that's remembering 10 years ago of playing it. But
right.
Has anyone played it besides Trav?
Just briefly when I got it, but I've wanted to because I've heard good things about it.
Yeah. I've played it a couple of times. I never beat it, but Bass Guy used to speed run it all the time. Chris Rohr.
Oh yeah.
That was one of his games that he always used to speed run along with Beetlejuice, another LGN game. So
yeah,
I believe I think he's still the world record holder for speed running that game.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's my number 5. My number 4 is a game that we're probably a little more familiar with. And I hear people pronounce it 2 different ways. I'm more of the Crystalis camp because that's how I said it when I was 7, but I've heard Crystalis as well. So Appellation, whatever you want to do. But that's a fun action RPG. Despite there being the Legend of Zelda on the NES and that being, that's my favorite game. And despite that being such a big entry for the open world action RPG, there's not a lot of Zelda 1 likes on the NES outside of just a small handful that are good. A lot of the advanced Dungeons and Dragons games are a little prickly, maybe not so accessible. Zelda's obviously a bit more accessible, but this is another one I would throw in that camp where, if you do like Zelda, this is within that vein. It's a little bit different setting, post-apocalyptic world, kind of magic, technology, and it's got great music. There's a magic system. You can get weapon upgrades. It's pretty fast-paced combat, which helps it, I think. Does have a save feature. And, just when it comes to a game like that, I mean, you can imagine for any RPG, it's kind of like when you think of a sequel, you're just thinking of more of the same. But I mean, they could have expanded on more weapon types and maybe an expanded world, and it could still be something that lives on today, But yeah, I thought it was really weird that we only got one. I think we got like a Game Boy port and then nothing else from this series. But
why do you think it is like with these games that, they're playable, they're fun? Like, what do you think it is that they just, nothing happens with them? They just didn't catch on with consumers, I guess?
Potentially bad marketing that could be to blame, especially in that day and age. And yeah, the name, like Little Samson kind of suffered from that.
Yeah, I think that's a good. Yeah, I definitely agree with the Little Samson thing because that game's amazing.
Yeah, but I don't know specifically for this game.
Yeah,
but it has a pretty good following. I just it's not so much casually known, but I think a lot of NES, people that are into specifically Zelda and Zelda likes are probably aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got familiar with it because NES Complex, because he had his videos where he used to say Crystallis.
That's how I heard. Yeah, that's how I
said. And Tony Brazel was actually streaming it last night, as a matter of fact, because he's going over his like top 10 NES lists, and I guess he was saying that's like a game from his childhood and he absolutely loves. So actually, I've known of it, and I've had it, but I've never ever tried it yet. So I was actually watching him cruise through the game yesterday, and it definitely looks like a fun, enjoyable game.
Yeah, it's a pretty good time. I got like a few hours in, and I was pretty slow. It was my first time through, so I'm still like learning it. And then my save battery in my cartridge died, and I was like, "Son of a bee!" So I never went back and played through it again, but I will one day once that sting wears off. My number 3, Shatterhand. Love Shatterhand. You're a cybernetic soldier. You got powerful melee attacks, and you got a robot over your shoulder following you around, and you can like change the different attack types of the robot, and you sort of pair these pickups together, not unlike, I don't know, maybe kind of like Kirby in a way. But I think it's somewhat of an underrated gem, but it's definitely caught on over the last, since the retro boom. I think this one's been shouted out quite a bit. So it's made its rounds. It's become harder and harder to find if you're looking for physical. But I really, really like this one. I kind of lump it in there with like that one and Vice Project Doom and maybe Kickmaster kind of fall into the same headspace for me.
Yeah.
So pretty good. But I think, you think about a sequel to this one, you got that robot idea. I mean, you could expand that, all different kinds of attacks and, the destructible environments. I don't know. You could think on and on. A co-op mode would have been great for that one. Anybody else shatterhanded around here?
That's a title, right? Like that and Kickmaster are both title games, right?
Thanks. I don't know if Shatterhand is. Kickmaster is.
Yeah.
Is it on is it on NES on the online service on Switch?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it is. I think I've briefly played it there, I think. But it seemed fun.
I've never played Shatterhand. I love Vice Project Doom. That's another one that's in like my personal top 10. So I'm actually, I think I'm gonna check out Shatterhand.
Yeah.
I've always assumed Kickmaster was its sequel, even though because it's like one's about punching and the other about kicking. So even though it's a different title and they're not sequels, I've always kind of lumped the two together more so.
And I don't really know why I lumped them together in my head, other than what you just said might be why. My brain might be linking hands and feet. But yeah, it's a good
What's the evolution from hand? Foot.
That's right. How do you get from one to the other? You're right. Then my number 2, Metal Storm. That's one that really got popular sort of like post its time. It's, when it was actually sold in shelves. You control this mech. I think it's like M308 gunner. You can flip gravity. Pretty cool for the NES.
Yeah.
And you're basically just trying to prevent the space station from self-destructing. And there's just something about just being like a gravity-based platformer on the NES that makes you kind of wow at the system, because it's probably simple to enact, but no one's doing that. So that game really stands out for that specifically. So it's really technically impressive. It's fluid to play through. I think the level design is among the smartest on the system. Yeah, it's a pretty good time. So, expand on that with the sequel. Just give me more Metal Storm. And then you think that one, if it gets expanded out to future consoles, it basically becomes Titanfall 2 someday. So Metal Storm is it's just weird to me that it ended right there.
I'm shocked that one didn't have anything beyond it. It is a great game. Like was that one of those late release ones that just kind of,
I want to say it was a bit later. Yeah, maybe 92, even 91, 92.
Yeah, like maybe it just kind of got overshadowed by the Super Nintendo, because there's just so many mech games out there. I'm surprised, I don't know.
It's got one of the best death animations on the console. Super cool when it explodes.
Yeah.
I love it. Have you played the second loop of that game?
No.
It is brutal. It is extremely difficult. Like the main loop's not that bad, but that second loop, they really mess with you.
Is it like more enemies, or are they just tougher?
Tougher, more enemies.
Okay.
And yeah, it's brutal.
Well, maybe one day I'll try it, but until then, my number one, I think we'll have a full panel agreement on this one. My number one's going to be the Guardian Legend.
Yes, so good. That.
Yeah, I mean, I love that one. Female cyborg warrior. Again, another sort of Zelda-like. You got the screen panels, shoot 'em up sequences, puzzle sequences. I mean, it's really just a bunch of games kind of smattered into one. A little bit of Metroid, a little bit of Zelda, a little bit of 1942. I don't know. I was trying to think of a shooter, but but a fantastic hybrid game, and it's one of those games that it exists in a way where you're like, it's wild to me that it came out when it did, because it was so smart in the way it fused a lot of its inspirations together. It just seems almost like a game that would be like a homebrew today, based on what people loved from the NES then. But this came out in its time, so I don't know. I've always found that really impressive. Yeah, I mean, you can imagine a sequel to that would have been phenomenal. Just given what all they packed into that one game, they could fuse other. They could make it. They could have like Batman stuff in there for Curtis to enjoy, and all kinds of things. It would have been great to see where they could have taken it, because it was just so inventive for its time.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. When you had mentioned that was your top 5 list that you were going to do, I'm like, please mention Guardian. I love that game.
Yeah, it was. I just cannot believe it. It's all of these. I don't want to say died on the vine. They have great legacies. But that's the thing to do within video games, the video game, space. Something's good, you release the same thing and you put a 2 behind it, and you keep making them until they don't make money anymore. And I feel like these would have continued to make money for a long time had they gone with that. But to some degree, maybe it's okay that their legacy has remained, untainted and defined by what we have.
It's helped their legend grow, perhaps.
Their Guardian legend.
And with that, we come to the end. That was a great top 5, by the way, Trav.
Thank you.
That was a really, really good idea.
Yeah, way to save us from Curtis's. We need.
I did not want to go last. I'm not gonna do that.
I'm impressed that we all had different games outside of, I guess, you throwing Mike Tyson under the bus. But we did introduce 19 unique. Well, we didn't introduce them to people, but we at least highlighted 19 unique games.
Yeah, and not just that. Like we I guess I kind of broke my own rule, because the whole point was to not talk about the same games that you always hear about. But I talked about them in a different light.
Right.
We don't normally hear. But what I wanted to do, because I originally was thinking we were going to do it. I was going to do my personal top 10, which I think is very unique. And then we were going to, I don't know, comment on it. But I was like, yeah, but at the end of the day, you're still talking about all this, it's still good games. Like, this gives us a way to break it up, get some variety. I don't know. I had a lot of fun with it. I think all you guys did really good. And thank you guys for all being here, obviously.
You're welcome. I liked everyone's list but yours, Curtis. So everybody did a great job.
Chris Dollars, new from SNK. for play on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Are you up to the challenge?
Yeah. You know, Curtis, I always feel like you and I agree on a lot of things. Like when I listen to the Resident Evil 4 podcast for the Cartridge Club, you know, I'm right there with you. You know, I'm like, I wish I could have been there to defend Curtis, but now I got to back off a little bit. I'm like, you called out Mario 3, and that hurts.
Sometimes it was hiding inside of me. I needed to get it out of there, you know? I always think these things, and I'm like, I'm going to finally say them. All right? But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun.
Does everyone know what their number one NES game is, though, offhand?
No. Yeah, I think
I'll go first, and to me, it's Castlevania 1. I used to say it was Mario Brothers 3, but
I changed your mind.
No. It when I beat Castlevania 1 for the first time, I was like, this is it. It's like an easily top 5 game for me, the original Castlevania. So I'm just generally curious, and not like I said, I have nostalgia love for Mario Brothers 3, but Castlevania 1, it's like one of my favorite experiences ever. So
nice. I flip-flop between Mario 3 and Super C. For most of my life, it was Super C, but then I played it so much, I needed a break from it. And so I went to lean towards Mario 3. I think now that I've taken a break from Super C, I think I'm kind of leaning that way again. But no matter what, I do think it is superior to Contra in almost every way.
What I'm curious. Well, I'll go. My number one is Contra. I think it's perfect.
Guess we're fighting again, huh, Curtis?
It's a super fun 2-player game. You know, it was the final girlfriend versus episode. I always wanted to do that, but I like. What do you think? Explain a little bit more with Super C. I'm curious.
I mean, to be fair, they are extremely similar, right? I mean, you can't go wrong with either one.
Nope.
But I think the slight upgrade in graphics, which I don't normally care about graphics too much, but the bullets can be pretty hard to see on Contra because they're just the white bullets, except for in Snowfield when they do kind of give them a little glow to see them. Because could you imagine playing Snowfield with the white bullets? That would have been insane. And so they make the bullets a little bit larger, easier to see. I do think the soundtrack's superior. Again, Contra's got a great soundtrack. I just like Super C's a little bit more. And it could be nostalgia. I just feel like I played it more as a kid, and it's just stuck with me when that game starts and there's the lightning flashing and the thunder and you're rappelling out of a helicopter. Like, I love that.
It's pretty cool. I mean, they're both great. Yeah. Trav, you got a number one?
Contra Force. No, I'm kidding. Indefensible. No, Legend of Zelda, the original LOZ. Strong nostalgic ties, and obviously, good game. Good to latch your horse on to the winning pony when you're 5, and you're like, damn, I hope they make a sequel to this, and boy, they won't quit now.
Right. That's a great game.
And it's the coolest cart on the NES.
Gold. Man, it had that map. We had that map. It looked like the treasure map to Curly's Gold in my house. It was just so wrinkled and scotch taped and coffee stains.
That's great. How do you feel about Zelda 2?
It took me until later in life to really appreciate it. I didn't like it at the time. I got it as a gift, played it on Christmas, and was like, what happened?
That was
Zelda?
Yeah. You guys see that?
Yeah.
But played it as an adult. You're making hearts come out. Interesting.
It's interesting.
That is very cool. For those of you who listening to this audio, Curtis is spilling his heart out to us.
Weird.
I didn't know you could do that.
Very interesting.
I never knew that either. Could you use other hand gestures like thumbs up or
Open the bird? No.
Nothing.
Anyway.
Nothing. All right.
But anyway, yeah, Zelda 2 I like now as an adult. I played through it later and grew to appreciate it. But no, as a kid, I did not like it very much.
It's so different from the first one.
I love Zelda 2 as well. In fact, another game that I'm starting to get into because of that is Battle of Olympus.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, I love Zelda 2.
Woof.
Why don't you like Zelda 2?
Go back and listen to the episode I hosted for Cartridge Club when we did Zelda 2. And
did we do Zelda 2?
And I hated it. Yeah, it was bad. I had a real bad experience. And I beat it. I beat it.
Oh, wow. Well, that's cool.
Oh, yeah. I lay out all the reasons why I hate that game in that episode. So
Yeah.
So.
Well, perhaps that's a good segue into the wrap up of the show, because there's plenty of great Cartridge Club episodes in the archives you can go back and check out. Like I said, we're on season 12, episode 7. Captain Algebra, can you do some quick math? How many episodes that is?
So I told you it's the weekend, okay?
Oh, right.
I don't have to do math right now.
It's 139, right? It's a gross minus 5. 12 times 12.
There you go.
12 times 7.
Yeah, see, something like that. I don't know. I gotta stop drinking.
I don't know how to algebra the captain. I'm just
like I said, my brain is shut off on the weekends because I got to deal with enough stupid students during the week. So
he's going to listen to this on a Wednesday and be like, he was so wrong.
But there are still plenty of games we haven't played in the Cartridge Club, and coming up, we got some good ones. Next month, April, it's all about Zelda. It's Zelda month. And we are finally playing. How many Zelda games we got left? We're finally playing Skyward Sword.
Woof.
Hell yeah, great game.
Bit of a controversial title, to say the least. Interesting.
Because one person apparently likes it.
Ryan and I will be duking it out on that podcast. Should be a fun one.
It'll be a good one. And then in June, is that Star Wars month?
Yep.
May is Star Wars month.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, May is Star Wars month. I went from April to June. What? There's still May? We're still doing that? Okay. May is, right, May the 4th. Right. Star Wars month. We are doing Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
As selected by the Patreon. They voted for that game in, so.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was absolutely going to say all of those things.
Played Fallen Order last year. Now we're playing the sequel.
There you go. And then in June... What are we playing again, Ryan?
Diddy Kong Racing.
Oh, that's right. My gosh. Sorry, I just had to do some coke. Diddy Kong Racing. Love that game. It's the best racing game on the N64. Hot take for you.
Is it?
It's excellent.
Yeah,
it's very good.
It's no California Speed, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So yeah, we got some good stuff coming up in the Cartridge Club. But we have gone on far too long, and I have to edit this beast. So we're gonna wrap it up right now. I want to thank my guests one more time. We got Trav from Polykill, Captain Algebra, and ItsRocketSauce. Thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
This is where you all talk at once. Yes, great.
Did you see that thumbs up you just did, Curtis? There's another, like a bubble came up with a thumbs up.
Well, how do I do it? I don't know what.
I don't know what you did.
Dang it. Well, anyway, until next time, thank you guys for watching and or listening. And thanks for playing. Until next time, CC Unite.
You got 50,000 on Double Dragon?
Fred Savage has a plan.
He's headed for the video championships.
It's going to take a lot of talent.
Ellie, here we come!
A little romance.
I am not kissing a boy.
And the wizard.
Video Armageddon.
You can do it! You're the best!
Fred Savage in The Wizard. Rated PG. Free Nintendo Pocket Power magazine with admission while supplies last. Starts Friday at theaters everywhere.